That's the very basic grip. Now when you put this in, we do want to do some checks. Joel, I'm sorry. You asked everyone to mute their cell phones, and I'm the only one that wasn't successful.
Well, there you go.
Now I think I'll take it out on your vice president. What type of demos is he bringing in here? All right, Murray, can you go overhead here? You are overhead. Okay. If you'll look, I have tried to align the edge of my tool rest to be roughly in line with one of the points of this block. What I want to do is I want to turn it, and I want to see how close the other points come to that. And that's reasonably good, okay? With this type of chuck, you've got just a little bit of float here. You can move this around just a little bit before you really clamp it up. You can move it around in the headstock. You can move it around in the tailstock. You want to try to get these points as evenly aligned as you can. The more even you get them, the more even as you circumscribe a circle around these points, it will be a true circle. If you have a point that's off, what you'll end up with is one long point, a medium point, and a short point. Okay? You may want that. Okay? But if you want it balanced and you want all the points to be the same length, you have to be as cubic as you can get. Yes, sir?
Don't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Okay. The way I understood you were checking on the point going over your tool rest.
Yes, sir.
Are you trying to align it so all of the points that would go by that point are in the same exact place? Is that what you're talking about?
The question is how closely or how well do I want to align that? Yes. If we can zoom in right there, you can see how close this point is to the tool rest. I'm going to turn it a third of a turn, and I'm off a little bit. Okay, I'm not perfect. Okay, and I moved the last point up there, and it's not perfect. It didn't repeat absolutely. Okay, but you know, now I'm going to move this around a little bit, and I'm going to make certain it's securely fitted, and I'm going to bring the tailstock up and grip this a little tighter. Anybody ever sit here and crank this and crank this and crank this, and your tailstock is just moving? Okay. So I'm not the only one that does that? Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's kind of an optical illusion, okay? Okay? It will make you dizzy, you know? But the nice thing about it, I'm gonna have Sharon coming over. She's gonna cook. She's gonna do laundry. She's gonna vacuum the floors before the end of the night. That's 800 RPM, and I have just a little bit of vibration. Okay. Now this is intermittent cut. Intermittent cut, you want to run as high as you can. You want to keep your tool engaged in the wood as long as you can, or as often as you can, okay? By virtue of being a cube and you are on the mass center, you are rotating on the center of mass, you don't get a lot of the offset wobble, wonk, wonk that you get when you do a platter or a live edge bowl or something like that. This is going to run pretty much true and on center. The other nice thing about this type of chucking, are you ready for the lie? catchless. Quote unquote catchless. Okay. It doesn't have, you're relying totally on the friction of the headstock and tailstock to hold that in place. That's a good place to start. That's where I started all of these. When I first did these, that's all I did was use a friction drive on the head and tailstock until I got a tenon on it and I could grip the block in a tenon. Okay. Shortly after I did this demo the first time, Rubber Chucky, Don Doyle out of where are they? Michigan, Howell, Michigan. And I've got Rubber Chucky products up here. He came out with a 3-point Chucky, and you can buy it with or without the mandrel. It's a number 2 Morse taper mandrel. Put that into both the headstock and the live center. The 3 facets on this, Sharon passed one way and one the other way. Ladies and gentlemen, these are not parting gifts. I do want these back, okay? But in this case, now I can just see which corners I've still got integrity on. Okay, so now I have positive grip, okay? It's good and bad, okay? I'm relying first on getting the block as cubic as I can. The Rubber Chucky is fairly precise in terms of its facets and its on center. So it's going to pull this cube to only one position. I lose the capability of doing any adjustment that I had earlier in that open center arrangement. But if I've got my block cubic, and I've knocked one of the corners off of this, so let's go down here and see if we can repeat our checks here. Okay, I'm looking again to see how close the edge of my tool rest is to the block. And that's repeating even better than it did before. Okay? I'm no longer catchless. Okay? I now have positive restraint on this block. Okay? Now, the diameter of these is roughly 2 inches. The diameter of my chuck is roughly 2 inches. So if I just continue this cylindrical shape into my block, I'm setting my tenon size to what I want. If I'm using the tailstock and headstock open, it's much more difficult to judge when I've got a proper size tenon. That's why I have 2 jaws. I start with this size, and after I've cut too much away, I go to this size. Okay? Who's ever done that? Okay. So now, the other nice thing about this is, depending on what you want to do, you can run, here I ran a mortise. Okay? So it's not restricted to a tenon type function. You can run either mortise or tenon operations on this. All right? So I've got this block set in here. I'm going to use a little bit of a guide. And I just want to set this up here just to see how far I've got to cut in to get a full circle. I've got to cut that much away before I get to a full 2-inch circle to go into my chuck. Why do I want a full circle? Because I want good grip. I've got 3 points here. I've got 4 jaws on my chuck. It's not a good combination. You've got to get to a full round tenon before you are ready to got to kickstart it, huh? All right, that's 900 RPM.
Is that because of the rubber?
The rubber chucky, the question is, am I running that RPM because of the rubber chucky? I'll start a block this size. I'll start it at home. I'll start it at 1,000 RPM. Okay. Again, it is intermittent cut. I'm trying to reduce the vibration and the chatter by running as fast as this block will let me run. Okay. I don't want to run any faster than that. I got 2 ladies that I consider my friends right here in the front row, and I don't have too many friends, so I got to take care of the ones that I've got. All right. So I'm gonna start with my 5/8 inch bowl gal. This is an Ellsworth grind. I use 5/8 inch. That's really the biggest bowl gouge I have. I use it because I am trying to cut down the chatter. I don't want to break a small tool off doing intermittent cut. So I'm gonna hit it pretty aggressively. I'm gonna take some chips off of it, and we're gonna make a tenon on this first. This banjo is backwards for me. I've just now gotten it to the point that I am seeing wood all the way around the circle. You see I'm still not deep enough to be able to clamp that in a tenon. So I'm going to have to come up just a little bit more and clean that up. Getting much closer. Here's a shear scraper, a skew to clean that up just a little bit. Okay, now I've created a full round, in a good face to put my chuck against. And I brought in the point of the skew, and I'll use a parting tool, and I'll start parting that off. Before I do that, I probably want to come over and do the same thing on this end. Gives me some flexibility, okay? I can part this off now. I can go work on it as I want. Once I've done that, hand me that little block. That's what the cube looks like that comes off the back end. Do not leave that on your shop floor. Once you cut that off, what's that?
I said it would be really good for drying.
Yeah. It's a good painter pod, right? And put it on your table as a paint pod. But that hurts, okay? If you step on that, okay? So don't leave these little blocks laying around on your shop floor. At that point, I'm ready to change some things out. I'm ready to go through your magic of television. I saw Emerald Lagasse do that, you know, puts a casserole in the oven, you know, and let it bake for 2 hours, comes back 15, you know, a 15-second commercial, comes back and the casserole's ready. Okay, same block, same mango, started the same size. All I did was I put it between the blocks, I cut a round tenon on it, I trimmed the node off of it, the little knot came off of it. I put it in my jawed chuck. I faced off, I did the exact same thing on the other side. I faced it off. I put my drill chuck up here with a Forstner bit in it, and I started the hollowing. Okay? Easy breezy, right? Everybody gonna try this at home now? All right. Let me get the next setup going here.
What size Forstner bit did you use?
Beg your pardon?
What size Forstner bit did you use?
What size Forstner did I use? I think that's 1.5 inches. It falls into your design category. If you're very good at making very tight hollow forms, use a 1/2 inch. I'm not that good, okay? I think I used 1.25 inches on that one. I don't know what size I used on the ones going around. I think I used a 2-inch on this one because I wasn't real pleased with the way the wood was working out for me, and I knew I was going to get a lot of chatter, and I wanted a larger hole to work with. All right, another interesting rule of woodworking. Everybody have their one-way, they have the little stop in here, and you put a live center or something in there. Have you ever forgotten to take the peg out? Give me those 2 small ones, the orange ones. I'll hand this one around. This is what happens. I don't know if you can see I'll hand this one around. Again, it's not a parting gift, but you can see how the facets of the 3-point Chucky got kind of rounded out. I forgot to remove before flight the stay pin, and with that locked down, and the other side in the rubber Chucky, in the 3-point Chucky, it makes some interesting racket. It lets your lathe does a jitterbug across the floor. And you end up calling Don Doyle and say, hey, I'm going to SWAT next week, and I just destroyed my my rubber Chucky. Would you send me another one? So, okay.
Do you ever do any of your shading between centers?
Yes. Who asked that question? Question was, do I ever do any of the shaping between centers? Yes, I will. I'll keep it within the rubber chucky, and I will start shaping the points or something out here. But I feel more comfortable with the 4-jawed chuck and the tenon, so I try to go to this reasonably quickly.